true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit ClassyCommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. My name is Guy Dawson, and I am your host. And I have the absolute privilege today to be in the presence of one of our esteemed elders. This is Dr. Mai Haley. She is a woman who has played a significant role in the history of America, specifically of Black America, as the co-collaborator of the epic book and miniseries Roots. And I'm just so looking forward to hearing more about her journey. Welcome to the PR Connection Show, Dr. Haley.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And Dr. Haley and I were introduced to one another by a mutual friend a few years ago named Shirley Sanders, a wonderful woman. Yeah, whoever would have thought, right?
Right.
Dr. Haley, that so many years later, we would now be collaborating, working together. My public relations firm is representing Mai Haley. And yes, time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it, Mai?
It sure does. Sure does.
And so, as I had mentioned in my intro of you, Dr. Haley, you've played this really significant role in truly in American history as well as Black history. But the first question I want to ask is, how did you get there? How did you get to the point in life where you were able to collaborate with Alex Haley, who we all know as the author of Roots? Tell us about your upbringing.
Oh, all the way back to Greenway Street, West Virginia. Well, while I was still incubating inside my mom, my grandmother had a plan, and she had heard about education for Blacks was the way not only get self-improvement, but to be a contribution to the race. And so by the time I was born, she had a plan that I was to be educated. And she gave me so many things herself, and she had only gone as far as the 3rd grade, but she started working for whites. She was a part of the Day Workers Brigade, and she only worked for whites who had children of my age, so she could see what the white children were reading and learning, and she would go and get those books for me to make sure that I was being educated along with them. And so she also gave me a lot of qualities, and one of them was persistence. Just don't quit. Don't quit. By the time I reached the point of graduating my PhD, and shortly after joining with Alex, I came to him with research skills from that I had learned from my department. My great advisor, John McKay, was so good about making sure that part of my scholarship was in research and everything. And so I had those skills. I had that never give up. As I had been coming to class, there was I had an 8 o'clock class undergrad every morning. And my mom's house was about 45 minutes on the freeway. And it was like during that time of driving from mom's house to campus for my 8 o'clock class, I was listening to Les Brown on WBKO Columbus. And he had this pattern every morning. He would stoke the fires of anybody listening, that you can do whatever you wanted to do. You can do it. You are somebody. You are somebody. By the time I got to campus, I was ready to go. So it was like building a kind of confidence as well as the never say die that grandmother had given me, the persistence and all of that. My skills in the graduate school, and all of these kinds of things I brought to Alex, who really by that time needed to produce. He had finished the first third of Roots, and he was under the gun for the last two thirds. So what he needed was not research. He needed a never say die, a never quit kind of attitude and fuel behind him. He needed somebody to help plan, get a plan of attack to finish that last two thirds. And those are the kinds of things that I did for him. I saw where he was and where he needed to be. Within 18 months, we finished the entire book. It was with a plan, and it was with an attitude that said we can do it and we will do it. And so those are the kinds of things that I brought to him. A whole lot more, but that's part of it.
Right. I think inspiration, you had mentioned my about the people who had inspired you throughout your lives, family members, Les Brown, and it's really interesting the way that these people they see things in us that we don't necessarily see in
Yeah,
ourselves.
yes.
Right. And that is part of what stokes that fire, right? Is
Mhm.
when you have people who are encouraging you, who are telling you, yes, you can do this. I see something special in you. I know that through our conversations that's been a really significant thing for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, what the expression is, if you see a turtle on a fence post, you know he had help. Yes. I had lots of help.
Right. And so you meet Alex, and
Hmm.
then he needed inspiration. He was about a third completed with the book, as you had mentioned, and then you started to work with him on it. When you looked at that manuscript and started collaborating with him, did you have any idea that what you would be working on would have such an enormous worldwide impact?
No, no. We were geared, well, yes and no. We were geared to the material, but there came times when we were working on the material that I had kind of like a visceral shift inside that said that something really significant was happening. And by the time we finished um, some of the later sections, and we were about to leave Jamaica to finish in New York, I remember that we were standing on the veranda one day, and I had been working on the copy, taking notes for him and everything. And it was a sense like the world just shifted, something new, something different. We had entered a new dimension. And I mentioned that to Alex, and he said, "Oh, nah, it's just your imagination." It wasn't my imagination. I really felt that that work was an important piece for Black America and for America, period, for all people, really. But I couldn't tell then. I just knew that it was significant.
And of course, you had the book that was published in 1976, and then this epic miniseries.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being a very young boy and watching Roots, and this is such a different time as we're in today, where we only had network TV back then, or not many channels, so you didn't have a lot of options like we have today when it came to watching things. And I just remember Roots being such a monumental thing
Hmm.
for
Oh, yeah.
everyone. And what a
Yes.
big deal. And I was a little boy, but people were making such a big deal about it. And
Ah,
me, my family, and I, we watched every night of it,
yeah.
around the TV, watching this. for you, having been a collaborator, a part of this, a monumental event that was happening, what was that like for you? How did you process that?
Well, I remember seeing um, the birth of Kunta Kinte as they were filming it with Cecily Tyson and Maya Angelou. It started there for me, um, translating the vision from paper, to what people were going to see on TV. I was standing in a group, looking in on this thatched hut that they had built, and Cecily was standing there just holding a pole. And when the director started, the woman was so mesmerizing that you would have thought that she was actually giving birth right in front of you. You're just holding this pole, sweat popping off her forehead like in pustules, it was just amazing. And when this scene was finished and the director said, cut, she said, oh, really? What's for lunch? I'm thinking, oh my God, this was incredible. It's just amazing. The scenes that followed after that were remarkable, and building up to when Roots was going to be launched. The book first, with the lines that just queued up down the streets from the bookstores, people waiting to get autographs and whatnot. And then when the film came out, it was just, it was surreal for me. And I had to plead with Alex to get me a television because he was running around doing all these crazy things, going to the parties and whatnot. And I said, Alex, I need a television so that I can watch Roots. And he said, oh, okay, well, maybe. So he took me down to this place where I could rent one. You remember those days when you could rent a TV?
Oh,
And
yeah.
he rented the TV for the week, and so that I could see Roots. That was the way I got to see it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just seeing it translated to film was just remarkable. I mean, LeVar Burton, his performance, all of the performances were remarkable, you know. So you had the sense of being a part of something that was growing, that was building, not only in the media, but the groundswell of the country as people were getting involved with the film and what it was about and what it means to us as Black people in this country. And also talking with whites in a kind of new conversation and a willingness to open up on both sides and say things that to each other that we hadn't said before because now we have new language to help with that. All of those kinds of things that were going on. It was just amazing. But while this was happening, I was working on Roots too.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I know the work again. Oh, by the way, for all of the audience out there that is listening in, Maya Haley and Alex were husband and wife, and she is actually his widow. And so you've got the dynamic of eventually the two of you married, and so you've created this absolute masterpiece in Roots, and now because you are about the work, I mean, Maya's she loves to create content. I mean, that I would say that that's an understatement, right,
Yeah,
Maya?
right,
And so
right.
now you, in your mind, I'm just going to move on to the next project. Is that kind of how you already? You probably didn't even really get a chance to bask in the glow of the significance of what you were creating, and now you're already moving on to the sequel.
Well, yeah. At the same time, though, it was crazy because I would wake up and there would be all these people at my living room window, looking in, trying to get a glimpse of Alex. And I would go out and say, he's not here. He's on the road or something. They just parked. They just camped out on the deck and on the steps. So they were just going to wait for him. And I said, he might not be back for a few days. People just came and sat. I would be back in the house working and they're sitting out on the deck. And I'm thinking, it was like that. It was just a crazy time. It was. I didn't know whether to make coffee for them or not, you know. And yeah, we Roots was not finished airing when we were already working on Roots 2. And then when Roots 2 was being aired, we were already working on the next project, which was called The Merging.
Right. And so moving from project to project to project, and at this point, you're really hitting home runs all over, right?
Yeah.
Just because of Roots definitely set the course for your later success. And one thing that you touched on, I think that was really interesting a couple of minutes ago, Mai, was the types of conversations that Roots created in America, where you had never really had slavery being portrayed in that, at least
Yeah.
on the screen, right? I
Right.
mean, I know there were books out there that were written about slavery, but for people to actually see
That's
this
right.
depiction of what slavery was all about was revolutionary at that time.
Mm. It certainly was. It certainly was. I think even there were many black people who responded by saying, I had no idea. I knew about slavery. I had no idea. So it was eye opening just across the board and gave us new vocabulary to talk with each other.
And of course, Alex Haley was a pretty prominent figure in the world as a result of writing the book, the autobiography of Malcolm X. I believe it was in 1960. Was it 63 or 65?
I think it was 65. I think it was. I have to double check my.
And it was published like right before his death, right?
Shortly.
Yeah,
Hmm.
right. And so, of course, he was someone who was known from that popular book. And then the two of you are collaborating. And this is one of the things that we want to do with this interview is really let you, the audience, know how significant of a role Dr. Haley played in bringing this to all of us. Not a lot of people out there know that you collaborated and the contribution that you made to this, again, epic piece of American history. How do you manage that? The lack of recognition that you've had for your contribution?
Um, hmm. Well, most of the time I felt privileged to help Alex because I felt that the work was going to be more than a treasure chest of things that we could make as gifts to people in this country. I came out of school really with this hero worship toward Alex because of his writing the autobiography of Malcolm X and Malcolm's message of self determination. You know, it's just Malcolm was one of my heroes, and so how did I feel about being in the background? I really felt privileged to work with this man on this body of material. What I didn't care for was that Alex himself didn't seem to want to acknowledge me. That was hurtful. That was. And to say something to him about it was, oh, it's all in your head, you know, don't think about it, you know, this is my story, you know, and I was just too happy to help, you know. That's
Yeah, because right, because you're all about the work and the contribution, and I know we've had these conversations, Mai, where you talked about the one of the ways that you dealt with this lack of acknowledgement that you had some issues with your with your husband at the time. Again, you were his widow about that, and that you one of the ways that you dealt with it was you kept your mind focused on the significance of the work that you were doing, and you knew that you were doing something important.
yes, yes. and I knew that the work was important. And but you see, also the context, the early context of being with Alex was being under the gun. The man was so far behind; it was just amazing. The publisher was under had a deadline that Alex hadn't met, and he had to meet for the right publication for the publication of the book to happen at the appropriate time for the film. He also had to provide material for the screenwriters. He was just really behind. So a big part of my job when I came in was to help execute, help get that work out. You know, we play acted together. The scenes we I did drafts, whatever it was that was required to because Alex needed, according to my calculations, he needed to produce 1 to 2 chapters a day in order to meet the right deadlines. That was a lot for somebody who procrastinated like Alex, you know. So it was a lot, you know. But most of the time we managed to do it. I didn't really think about, see, Alex didn't really marginalize me, or I should say, I didn't let him do that. Until the end, I was typing the acknowledgments page, and I realized that he had thanked everybody but me. And we had been in the trenches together. And that was my first feeling about it. But the work was more important than my feelings. I just wanted to keep working. Was it
Right.
you?
And I guess that's kind of been the way that you have pursued all of your endeavors. Is that the work is so important to you from our relationship through the years and some of the the things that I've read that you've created. I mean, you are a writer on purpose. That's for sure. And so I could imagine in a situation like that where you've got deadlines, lots of pressure, they want the book done, they want the screen, they're going to have to take this to the TV screen. But he needed that type of person, right? As they say, behind every great man, there's a great woman. And I could just imagine in that type of a situation how important you were to him.
Well, it really was a team effort because it was just that processing that amount of material, 2/3 of the book in 18 months was a lot. It was a lot. We just had to hew to it. But it was also fun, and I got a chance to see a seasoned writer at work, how he did it, And Alex was very particular. I watched all of his style, in the way that he produced and how he could be pushed to do more. That was part of it. And as he began to see how he was producing more, then, he got into the momentum. It was fun, even though it was constantly pressurized. I
Hmm.
mean, wake up every morning saying, "Oh my God, okay, we've got to get in there and get to it, get to it." You know, the clock stops for nobody.
Oh, right. And so we're actually near celebrating a milestone when it comes to Roots. In 2026, we will be celebrating the 50-year anniversary of the publishing of the book. And of course, in 1977, or from 1977 until 2027 is 50 years since the miniseries was released. What are your thoughts about the celebration that's going to be coming up?
Oh, I'm so looking forward to that because I I think Roots helps us. It triggers us when we read that book. Even if you don't read the entire thing, it might trigger you to follow another interest. You might want to look into genealogy as a result. In fact, that's part of what happened when Roots was finished. There was practically an explosion of interest in family connections, genealogy, and it was really inspiring among Black people. Get in there and find out who we were and who we were connected to, you know, and looking into other areas of Black Life Matters, all of these kinds of things. And I think that Alex and Roots did a lot that we need to remember them properly for, and opening the doors for things. You know, with Roots, many Black actors and actresses got a chance to show the brilliance in their craft, and doing the scenes from the book. And after that, I like to think that Hollywood opened the doors to us for more opportunities, for our actresses and actors. I'm not saying that very well, but that's what I mean, opening the doors for that. I think there are a lot of things that we think that work for, the new conversations that we had, the new opportunities that sprang from it, and to help our young people to remember that work is not a bad thing. It's about who we all are and where we came from. And in the times of our histories not being taught as often and as much in various places, a look back through Roots is not a bad thing for young folks. Start asking questions for today. You're seeing the film again, where we came from, what we endured. We are strong people, remembering who we are as strong people, and the things that we have to go forward with. You know what I mean? It's like, our greatness is continuing to evolve. Um, One of my theme songs when I was in school, I used to listen to Nina Simone's "To Be Young, Gifted, and Black." It was like it launched me out every morning. We to look at that theme of who we are. We are young, gifted, and Black. We are gifted and Black of all ages. We're pursuing those things in different ways since then. I hope I'm saying that well.
Oh, absolutely. And the cultural significance, Dr. Haley, of roots, and something that you had touched on, resonated with me, is just this pursuit that people have with genealogy in general. Of course, I know, like within our community, my family, we have a teacher in my family who has done extensive genealogy, so we've really been able to trace our roots, which again, these are the types of things that were definitely influenced by roots. But yes, went to a family reunion a couple of years ago and got to see the whole family tree. I
Mhm.
mean, when you inspire that type of an accomplishment where that may not have been done as much before the inspiration of roots,
Right.
within our community, but in general, the pursuit of genealogy was
Mhm.
also probably influenced a lot, in greater society, not just amongst our people. I think is I hadn't really thought about it that way until you just remarked a couple of minutes ago.
And remember, we had lots of it spurred family reunions,
Mhm.
all over. And Alex was talking a lot about listen to your elders, listen to where they came from, their early stories, because you're listening to your history, you know, these living treasures that are members of our family, you know, reminds us of the strength of who we are as we go forward. We have lots to do.
And so the significance of roots is, I mean, well known around the world, but I want more people to see the significance of other work that you've done. It didn't just stop at roots. You are a woman who has been creating really fantastic work for many decades. Would you like to share with the audience some of the other projects that you've been a part of beyond Roots? I know you've written a book that, by the way, I was listening to on Audible yesterday. And boy, what a story that is. Maybe you'd like to share the books and some of the other works that you've done that have been really significant.
Well, after Roots, I was thinking, and I was talking to Alex, that I really would like to write a book about a Black woman, significance. But I wanted to be able to feel that story. You know what I mean? I wanted to feel who that woman was. I mean, there were lots and lots of, certainly, of black women I could have written about, notable black women, but I wanted to feel a certain way about it, about this woman. And I felt that with Mary. Here was a woman who went against incredible odds in order to see some documents to Washington that would help the North in the Civil War. But she had to walk. The woman was crippled in her knee, and she had to walk from Norfolk to Washington, D.C. with these plans. And she was pursued by this guy who wanted nothing more than to see her dead. I could get into a story like that, and all the ways, the wiles, that she had to use in order to escape him, and the trials of the trip itself. When you consider that this was a woman, when you consider middle age at that time, she was an older woman, going through this kind of perilous journey north. And if she had been caught at any time, it could have been instant, killing her instantly, because she had the plans on her that she was transporting to the north. So she was, to say that she was a spy was, I mean, she was unequaled in what she did. I was inspired by an article that came out in Ebony about her. It was written by Mr. Foster, and I contacted Mr. Foster about it. I asked if it would be all right with him if I continued the thought about Mary Levester. And he said, have at it, And once I could find her on the city rolls in Norfolk, then I went ahead and created the Mary Levester of the book, The Treason of Mary Levester. That was real fun, And I got a chance to, in doing that, remember a lot of the things that I had been taught just by watching Alex. I mean, he had a certain rhythm in the way when he wrote. He used to say that every paragraph has a certain rhythm, every sentence has a certain rhythm. And when I saw him patting his feet, as he read through his own copy, I thought, And so as I read through my own copy, I made sure I could pat my feet to a certain rhythm of the sentences and everything in the telling and everything. He said, you always want to create a sense of being there for your character. You want to see it, smell it, touch it, all of that. And those are the kinds of things that I went after in trying to create what I did with the Treason of Mary Levester. After Mary, there are just so many things that I have been wanting to produce and have. The place I grew up in West Virginia, Greenway Street, and those marvelous characters living with those blue collar workers, who saw to it that all of us kids were Vaselined up and walking down the street. If the sun hit us, we were all in trouble with all that Vaseline on us. Did your mom do that with you? I mean, every part of the skin had to be Vaseline
Yes.
up.
Yes.
To the school bus and everything, and the ways in which they equipped us going to the school bus, because we were all bused to Carter G. Woodson School and up in the hills, and it was a black school, and so much of my interest in Black history started way back then. Those schools were marvelous, I don't know why I'm telling you this, Guy.
Because this is a part of who you are, and this is what everyone wants to know.
Well, there was such a belief in that little settlement of elders that we were gonna hit that school bus running, and we were going to learn. We were going to be educated. They all believed in the stories that they had been told, that if you could just get those kids and those grandkids educated, they could do so much better, So they had a way of sending us off to school with that mission in mind, Yeah, and so I began to write about these characters. That's where, and so I call it the grandmother book. So I write about that, and I'm also doing my own memoir. Tells a lot about working with Alex and the things that, as a young writer, learning from a seasoned one who wasn't really about teaching; he was just doing it, and I got a chance to watch. So I tell a lot about learning from the master in that, and a whole lot more because it's my memoir, you know. And then my interest in space, in colonizing areas of space. I have a book coming out about that. A children's piece, in which we learn more. It offers us a platform to learn more about Black history and notables in our history, and just ordinary folks. Because most often people who do great things are just ordinary people, who converge, in history at a certain time, at a right time, at a right place to do the right thing. And that's all of us. We're heroes in one way or another to somebody or another, and we may not even know who they are, you know, that we are heroes to them. I want to stoke those fires, encouraging that in the things that I'm doing now, the works that I'm doing now. I'm just about finished with my autobiography. I'm happy to say it's been work. It has been work. When I first was asked about doing the project, I think I cried for 2 days. I didn't know. I wasn't in touch with that part of me that needed to click. You know what I mean? And it hasn't been quite a year ago that a very important person said to me, we were talking about roots and, how I wanted people to remember roots and its contributions and everything. And she said to me, well, I think you better tell it then. You better talk about that. You get out there and, lead the band. And that started the autobiography in a whole different perspective that clicked in just right. And like with Mary Levester, I had been working on that story for a couple of years and it just wasn't right. And I woke up one day and it was like, bam. And within a few months, it was done. With the autobiography, the same thing happened. When she said that to me, it was like, well, of course. Okay. And that's not to say it has been easy, but it's almost done. And I will be too grateful to give that as a gift to our folks.
What did you learn about yourself from writing the memoirs?
Oh, too much. That's the thing. There would be days when my mind, when you start stirring around in the crucible of your subconscious, in the backstory of who you are. I mean, you weren't wonderful every day. Of your life. You were not wonderful. You were not a giant of morals and whatever. And remembering those kinds of things, and the devilment about yourself, it's like, I did that. Oh no! Oh no! Everything comes up. But I think when you're writing your autobiography, where you measure yourself, you look at all of that, and you say, "Oh my God, I did that." Oh.
Good, the bad, and the ugly. How my
Exactly.
comes out when you're doing that type of introspection.
Absolutely. And I have sequestered now for that whole length of time. As I said, it's not been a year, but it's been lengthy, and I've just totally sequestered in order to be able to do it. That's the only way I know how, because otherwise I'm just pulled in too many directions. I just have to just stay here, stay still, and do it. Just do it.
Well, I am grateful, Dr. Maya Haley, to be going on this journey with you. We've got this 50-year anniversary that's going to be coming up, which is going to be really significant. I know you're going to play a huge role in that as the co-collaborator of the development, again, of this legendary project that has so much significance, along with these other projects. Well, we've got a lot of work to do over these next couple.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. And the project that you will be working on for that time period, I'm so excited to assist you in any way.
Yeah, well, we're
We
doing
got
work that's
to go.
significant. Is there's I mean, I've been in business for quite a few years, and one of the things that I have found that really keeps me going, keeps me inspired to want to do the things that I do, is finding significance in the work. And I think you and I are kindred spirits in that way. Because if the significance is there, my higher power gives me the drive to make it happen.
Exactly.
If the significance isn't there, I can tell because I'm not, as you
Yeah.
had mentioned earlier, there's this pull that you get to things. And when
Mhm.
it's not there, I know I'm not on the right track.
Yeah, there's
I
a
know you
resonance.
understand that.
Yeah, there's a resonance you feel, isn't it? When you know it's right.
Yes.
Mhm.
And the work becomes really pleasurable when you know, even though it's not always easy, nothing is.
Right?
Life is
Yeah,
not.
sometimes it's merciful. Sometimes. Yeah, it's the purpose, you know? And at this age, Guy, the lineup that we have, I'm just praying that the universe sees fit to let me be here to finish all the things that we have lined up to do. I talk about purposeful. I feel purposeful not only every day, but almost every minute because these are the things that I want to leave as part of my legacy. You know, I want to get them done, get them out there, get them going. Because I really do think that they will be of benefit, not only to our people, the Black people in America, but I would hope beyond. Because the projects that we have going are so pervasive. They're not just Black history, and we have. I mean, that piece about space that we've got. Oh my God!
Mhm, mhm.
You know.
Yes, just as you mentioned, so many different genres and styles, and the creativity that Dr. Mai Haley has. Again, when you're going to be experiencing her creativity very soon, and there's one of the reasons why I started this interview. Sort of taking it back to the beginning, Mai, is I really wanted our audience to get an understanding of the building blocks that lead you to becoming someone that can produce these epic type of platforms. And I have a better understanding just through the questioning that I did of you, that you've been divinely inspired for a long time, but you also are absolutely applying yourself. That's what I hear where you talked about the determination and the commitment to pursuing your purpose. I think you've shared that with all of us today as being really part of the secret of your success, and you're not done yet by any means. Trust me, through this
No.
network and things that we're going to be working on,
Mhm.
Maya and I are actually going to be developing a YouTube channel for her. And through these stories that we're going to share, we're going to go a lot more in depth than we went today in these different experiences that she's had throughout her life that have shaped it. And you're going to get a lot of Black history. You're going to get a lot of American history. You're going to, I feel you're going to learn perspectives about a woman who has talked the talk and walked the walk through
I've been
these
busy.
platforms that we're developing.
Yes. Yes. I'm really excited. I think this is one of the best times in my life. When people say, oh, golly, I'm 70 years old and, um, I'm too old to do this, too old. I don't believe in any of that. None of that. Uh-uh. until I draw my last breath, you're gonna be running to catch up with me.
All right.
You
Well,
know,
I'm looking forward to running. And by the way, our mutual friend who introduced us wrote her first book at the age of 80.
Shirley.
So that's when Shirley wrote her first book, was when she was 80 years old. And she's written, I think, 4 books since then.
She's amazing.
Probably working on one right now.
Exactly.
She's
93.
92 now.
Oh, is it 92? She does.
92 years old.
Yeah. She's my inspiration. She really is. She's my inspiration.
Yeah, another esteemed elder, and
Absolutely.
I love the fact that that you talked about the significance of esteemed elders and the place that they played in your life. And I'm hoping one of the things that is going to, I think, help us to evolve as a people and a society is if we start to recognize our esteemed elders more. I
Yes.
think that that's something that we've lost in our in within our specific culture as Black people, but I think in America, period, the significance of your elders used to be so prominent, and it doesn't seem like it is now. And there's something to be said for youth. Absolutely, we all enjoyed being young, but boy, where you get the meat is from these esteemed elders who've lived a
Yes.
lot of life and experienced a lot of things. And tapping into that, I think, is so important. I hope our society
Yes.
can
Yes.
get back on track with that.
I hope so too, because those grandmothers and grandfathers, I mean, they're living histories. Listen to their stories. They're talking about you too, who they are. It's a laying on of hands, touch them, the living history of who you are, you know. It's, don't let that die out, because you will be carrying it. If you're the ones going to space, you will be carrying those elders in your blood. It's in the
Mhm.
blood. You'll be carrying it right up there too. Know who you are. The more you know who you are the more you realize who you can be. And I'm not Les Brown. I'm not an inspirational speaker, but those are the kinds of things that I grew up hearing with Les Brown, with my elders. He was not an elder, Les, but with my elders, they were saying the same things. You know, it takes the ceiling from above your head so that you realize how unlimited you are. If there are limits, you're gonna put them there yourself. Don't allow it. And talking with those living elders reminds you that you have the strength to do that.
Dr. Mai Haley is an esteemed elder, an author, a writer, and a truly significant figure in our culture. Again, I am beyond excited about the things that we're going to be working on together. As I mentioned, my company, Classy Communications, is representing Dr. Mai Haley, and we've got a lot of very significant projects that we're going to be bringing to all of you in the near future. If people wanted to learn more about what you're doing, I know we're doing some behind the scenes work on things such as your website, but you have a social media presence and your website. Would you like to share that with the audience?
Well, I think you would probably be the best person to answer your own question, because I am so new to social media and its workings. The things that you've been teaching me are the only things I know. I'm
We are.
grateful to say I finally learned how to do a post, and I'm doing that. And my hairdresser taught me. I mean, she's my Svengali, right? And she taught me how to connect with groups, but that is all I know. So you might want to answer.
Right. Yes. So for all of you out there, you can follow Dr. Mai Haley on Facebook. You can also connect with her on LinkedIn. As I had mentioned before, she's got a YouTube channel that we're going to be hosting a podcast from very soon. And of course, she'll be dropping in here as well, here at prconnectionsradio.com for more interviews as we're promoting, again, a vast array of projects that she is currently working on. We're developing together. We will be definitely getting getting this information out to all of you. And again, Dr. Maya Haley, I salute for your contribution that you've made, and you haven't, by no means have you stopped. There's a lot more significance within the mind of Maya Haley.
Thanks, Guy. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate all of you for tuning into prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. And when you visit our website, prconnectionsradio.com, you can watch a host of podcasts in a variety of genres. We also have a huge audio streaming presence now. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and about 17 different audio streaming platforms. We're going to be promoting that a lot more here at the network. And so for all of you, I hope you have a fantastic day and look forward to seeing you on the next show. Take care of yourselves.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com. PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.